What's going on, Eagles fans? We are back another week and another loss for the Philadelphia Eagles. They dropped 42-30 to the Chiefs at the Link. Max, let's get right into it. What were you disappointed with most about this game on Sunday?
I was disappointed most probably with the defense. I mean, like giving up 42 points back to back game or 40 plus points back to back games, something you never want to see from your defense. But overall, if you're a casual fan looking at the box score, you see all of the Chiefs receivers. And at the top of the list is Tyreek Hill. Now, he actually out targeted the rest of his team by a wide margin, 12 targets overall. The next guy up was Travis Kelce with 6 targets. So Tyreek Hill clearly the focal point for Kansas City coming into the game, and the Eagles defense simply was unable to stop him. Now, most teams in the NFL aren't able to stop him, but he's been quiet the past few weeks against the Ravens, against the Chargers defenses, and the Eagles simply didn't have an answer for him. If you go back and look at his box score from those games, not too crazy, about 2-3 catches, nothing deep down the field. But in this one, 11 catches, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes. Just no answer for him on defensive end. Even saw literally Eric Wilson line up against him in man coverage. So they definitely have plenty of room for improvement and plenty of things to figure out as we gear up for next week. But just a very poor performance because on the offensive side of the ball, Jalen Hurts, yet they asked him to throw the ball 48 times, but you can't really complain. And maybe this is one of the games where Hurts can turn the corner and really silence most of his haters.
Yeah, for me, what I was really disappointed with was the amount of penalties just taking points off the board. Literally 3 touchdowns taken off the board, resulting in either no score or a field goal.
Yeah.
And you cannot do that against a team like the Chiefs, a team where you're going in as the underdog already and a really powerful offense. Now, the defense, not really that great of a defense. The Eagles at some points in the game were able to pick apart um, bits and pieces. The opening drive looked
Yeah.
phenomenal at first, really coming out strong. And I guess a good thing you can take away from this game is maybe seeing Jalen Hurts really throwing the ball all over the field.
Yeah.
Well, you can point out there was a bunch of overthrown balls, underthrown as usual. But for you, what would be a good takeaway, if any, after this game?
Well, I've been critical of Hurts in the past and recent weeks, but this week, man, listen, he is way down the list of reasons why the Eagles lost this game. I know he was only 32 of 48, but people out in the media really are talking about Jalen Hurts and giving him criticism. Some of it's deserved, but when you ask, a rookie quarterback in most people's eyes to throw the ball 48 times, you're doing yourself a disservice. And when you only run the ball again from Miles Sanders, 7 carries, 13 yards, Kenny Gainwell, 3 carries for 31 yards, excuse me. When Jalen Hurts is your leading rusher, again, 8 rushes for Jalen Hurts in this game, 47 yards. That's back-to-back weeks where Hurts is your leading rusher. And most of it is not by design. I mean, he's literally scrambling for his life sometimes. But again, I know we want to mention the offensive line here. They held up their end of the bargain without 4 of their starters. So if I'm taking a positive away from this game, like basically what you said, Hurts is moving the ball. He's spreading it out. He's hitting different receivers and trying to get his tight ends involved. And Ertz and Goddard, yeah, he's going to miss some throws. But overall, I'm thinking to myself that he had a very strong performance overall for the most part. Definitely not one of the main reasons why they lost this game. So Hurts improvement is one main takeaway that I like to see. But again, too many negatives. And the reason why is because these things are ending in losses. And when the negatives outweigh the positives, that's when you're going to have a poor record at this date, which the Eagles do at 1-3.
Yes, and Jalen Hurts, 32-48, 387 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't give the ball up in the air. And now going to the rushing stats, and unless you're the Baltimore Ravens, usually you're not going to win if your quarterback is the leading rusher on the team. Jalen Hurts rushed for 8 times for 47 yards. And going back to him spreading the ball out more, because of this, Devontae Smith got over 100 receiving yards. You like to see him get the ball in his hands more because honestly, we haven't really been able to see a lot of Devontae Smith because we were focused on other parts on the field, and the games are not going in the Eagles' way.
And do you
But
think that real quick is a part of just the game flow with Kansas City? I mean, they just score so many points that it's almost like you're forced to try to catch up with them. We've seen game scripts in recent weeks where the Eagles obviously get blown out in Dallas, but this weekend it's a Chiefs where it's just a shootout. Is that just a product of the game? And maybe next week we'll go back and revert to seeing Smith with his casual 4 for 40 yard line? Or do you think maybe this is a step in the right direction? I mean, literally 10 targets, which was huge as well.
I think this could be a step in the right direction, and it should not be just because it was the Kansas City Chiefs in town this week. You look to last season, the Eagles were praying for a wide receiver, a good top wide receiver. We get one, and it would be all for nothing if we did not use him. And this guy's a Heisman winner. I mean, who else is going to get the ball? Who else deserves the ball more than Devontae Smith? And it's not like this team is like the Tennessee Titans where they have Derrick Henry rushing the ball all the time and they don't need to pass the ball. They have Miles Sanders, who they do not use. I think it's all to blame the scheme. Nick Sirianni, which one thing I want to bring up is how he sort of goes about press conferences, sort of taking a detour real quick, saying that this performance from Jalen Hurts was the best quarterback performance that he has ever coached or been a part of. And we're talking about Phillip Rivers and Andrew Luck and quarterbacks of that nature. Now, of course, this wasn't a direct quote, but go back to his press conference. He said something along those lines. And I think it's just typical, a young coach wanting to back up his quarterback. And I don't think there's something wrong about that. I think just every press conference, there's something that he says, and people just are just scratching their heads after that, wondering what he really means by that. But yeah, Devontae Smith should be a key on a big part of this team. And against the Chiefs, who are not known for their secondary, it's understandable that he gets over 100 receiving yards. But I want to see Jalen Reagor do more for this team. I know that he was drafted and people were saying that he just was a bust for where he was drafted and the lack of production. Guys like Greg Ward and Travis Fulgham were producing more for this team. But now that you have Reagor, Devontae Smith, even going to Kenny Gainwell in the running game, 3 carries, 31 yards, as you mentioned, I think that he's really putting competition to Miles Sanders, which is surprising. So this team, and I know that's a topic you love talking about, this team is infused with youth, Max. And now we look on the defensive side of the ball. After seeing this young offensive line take over, Lane Johnson's not playing, all those injuries, Brandon Brooks, Mailata, I'm pretty sure he's out for this season. He might be.
Sam Alu might be, and Mailata, we still have to
Yes.
figure that out. But we'll see.
Right. But there's only Jason Kelsey practically.
Yeah.
And they are still able to protect Hurts. I mean, he did get sacked 3 times, but it could have been much worse going off of experience with other games. But Max, on this defense, who do you sort of circle that needs to do better in games going forward?
It's funny because we all were really looking at the secondary last year and in seasons past. And it's like, wow, our defensive backs are so poor. We go out, we get Darius Slay in a big trade. We go out, we sign Steven Nelson late in the offseason. And for the most part, I feel like the secondary has done their job and held up their end of things. But it's crazy because you flip the script almost in a way. You touch on the defensive line for the Eagles. That's been great in recent years with, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and the guys just pressuring the quarterback and being able to create pressure with only 4 guys rushing at the opposing quarterback. So this year it's the opposite, right? Where we have our front 4 can't put pressure on the quarterback. Our linebackers have been out of position and just aren't athletic enough to really run sideline to sideline. And that puts too much pressure on the back end of our secondary. If the defensive line can just improve, and if I guess I have to circle one guy, it has to be Fletcher Cox, really try to create some more pressure on the quarterback and take some of the pressure off of your secondary. That really basically will round out, I guess you could say, and improve the team as a whole, because it really is a trickle down effect when you look at the secondary to the defensive line. You just need to get pressure on the quarterback. And again, this is another thing. We haven't really had any turnovers, right? Because the quarterbacks haven't been flustered from the opposing teams where they make bad throws or flushed out of the pocket and throwing on the run and things like that. But if we're able to get pressure and force quarterbacks into mistakes and have, win the turnover battle, I believe from that point on, that'll be able to give us the opportunity to turn the corner and just start winning some more football games, or at least be more competitive.
Yeah, a clear player to me that you have to circle, underline, just put an X through his name is Derek Barnett. Really costly player on the field. It's like at most time there's a penalty, who it's going to be called on.
Yeah.
Derek Barnett, he's not really getting to the quarterback as much. I mean, I understand he's showing his presence sometimes when he goes off sides. I guess you could say that. But for me, and we mentioned it right at the beginning of the show, penalties really kill a drive for the defense. If you're just giving 15 yards to the offense, they're just marching up the field because of you. They're not even producing, but they're just getting help. You have Patrick Mahomes, whom I thought the defense kind of took care of in the first half of the game, pretty impressively, with Patrick Mahomes throwing 24 of 30. Now, I know you look at the stat line and you think he had a really good game, but those touchdowns came. I know the Hill touchdown came in garbage time at the end of the game. Other than that, they were able to handle Travis Kelce. And then most of their yards came from the run game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had over 100 rushing. Williams participated in the running game. Yeah. And of course, Patrick Mahomes did too. But I mean, everything. He was throwing overhand, underhand, pitching the ball. It was finding the end zone, but it's also Patrick Mahomes. How do you think this team is going to fare against Sam Darnold and the Panthers, who, in my opinion, are just looking to maybe go back to 500 after a strong start, but I think it was a little bit of an overrated start?
Well, I'll tell you what, as we wrap this up, basically, I think with the Carolina Panthers are a team that the Eagles can beat. I know that our predictions are that they're going to lose the game preseason, but I truly believe that there's a few mistakes. I shouldn't say that. There's a bunch of mistakes the Eagles need to fix, but if they can only fix a few of them, I think that gives them a shot to win. They don't need to fix every single one. I mean, red zone offense and play calling, that needs to change. I think we can both agree with that they just can't keep settling for field goals in the red zone. They need to punch it in somehow. I think the defensive line, if you mentioned it, if they can clog those holes, you can't give up 100 rushing yards to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then also, what do they give up to his backup? Then his backup had like a tremendous game as well, Darrell Williams. So like you give up 100-yard game and like a 50 or 80-yard, whatever it was for Darrell Williams, that's a problem. You got to clog those lanes. And I think what we're really looking at this year so far is the linebackers. Eric Wilson and Alex Singleton and those guys are trying to hold their own for the most part, but simply put, they're just not athletic enough. I would like to see us maybe, and I hate to mention the draft because we were talking about it today on the pod. It's way down the road, but we just need athletic linebackers that can run and can tackle well. I mean, it's an important part of the game that Howie Roseman keeps kicking the can down the road with. And I think it's time we address that issue. But if we can clean up some things on defense and improve that red zone offense, I think that gives us a good shot this weekend, and we can win, especially without Christian McCaffrey for the Carolina Panthers.
And I truly believe that the Eagles, and you mentioned it, how we think, I do think that it's going to be a close game, but I think it all depends on how much the Eagles feed Miles Sanders in this game. I think he has the opportunity to have a really good game. I'm talking around 80 rushing yards, a touchdown. And I think if the Eagles win, it will be because of Miles Sanders and how much he produced in the game. Of course, you look to Jalen Hurts and whether he can, how well he executed his passes. But really, Miles Sanders is going to be a huge piece for me in this matchup against Carolina.
Got to get the volume, though. Give him the touches. He's got to get the touches if he's going to want to put up a big game.
Yeah, exactly. You got to feed Booby.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, that is the end of our week 4 recap from Tanner Gilmartin, Max Gretzula. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, check out our game recap of the Eagles and Carolina Panthers game. Thank you.